Well, on air, we've been discussing a lot about cybersecurity and the need for more businesses and personal businesses and personal accounts to be able to have a greater level of security. Our next guest has over 23 years of experience in the field of cybersecurity. He's got an incredible track record of working with governments, banks, corporations in the UAE and across the GCC, and he's played an incredible role in ensuring compliance for both local and international regulations. He's the Managing Director of Cyb3r. Rami, Refaat, thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. Good to see you. You've got an incredible record, but for many people that are talking about cybersecurity, how dangerous is the current situation of cybersecurity in the UAE?
Okay, let's put it in quite simple words. How important is the data that you have on your phone? The problem is probably you don't know how much data you have on your phone. Your phone has your credit card numbers, your phone has your fingerprint, has your Face ID. You didn't think about that. You thought about your photos, your Instagram account, right?
Yeah.
UAE is the third top attacked country in the world for years now.
Why?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, because it's quite advanced digitally.
Mm-hmm.
It's pushing a lot towards digital transformation. The government is doing miracles when it comes to moving everything to the next generation, and at the same time, because it's one of the most important business hubs in the world, it makes sense that people would be focusing and chasing it. Usually people attack people for money, financial gains, political reasons, or geographical issues, and thankfully we have the three of them here in the UAE.
It's you've got the jackpot.
Exactly. So we're lucky to be in the UAE, and at the same time we have to bear the risk and we have to carry that cost in a way.
You know, you just mentioned that there are risks involved because we advance. It's like pretty much in sport that if you want to go ahead and above your competitors, there are risks involved. There could be injuries associated, but for every injury that could come to a sports person, there are ways to mitigate that. There are ways to avoid those injuries. What are some of the challenges that one faces when they're trying to protect their cyberspace?
I think the biggest challenge that anyone has when it comes to protecting their cyberspace is knowing their cyberspace. That's the first thing to look at. So one of the interesting announcements, the National Cybersecurity Center of the UAE, they stop attacks at the level of nation-state attacks and top government attacks. They announced they stop 50,000 attacks a day.
Wow.
Right? But numbers worldwide say that over 55% of the attacks are built towards small and medium businesses.
Okay.
So businesses like ours and yours, right? The first thing that you need to do when you look at what do I need to do to secure myself is first define what you call your crown jewels. Do you care about your data? Do you care about your customer database, your financial data, your recordings and your equipment outside, right? So you define what matters for you, and then you see what are the possible threats that could happen.
When it comes down to these attacks, where are they coming from?
They're coming from all over the world, from all of the organized crime for attackers is much more advanced than we can imagine. There are studies about that.
And are they attacking small to medium businesses because it's seen that most of those businesses don't have the same level of security as the major global networks?
That's number one reason. Number two reason, they do have very valuable data still. Number three, they're a very good gateway to bigger businesses because we're in a world that everyone works with everyone, right?
Right.
You know, for someone like me, and with technology, sometimes, especially when I'm working here, I feel like a bit of a dinosaur. And I grew up with you needed security on your computer to maintain your files, but you tend to think to want to have the same security on your phone. Is that still a mindset problem? Because you tend to think you want to have everything backed up, but we all work remotely so much. Sometimes it's more important to have our phones.
So it's a bit more complex than that.
Yeah. No, please.
So 40% of the attacks last year started through a phone.
Okay.
Right? So phones now are like a big issue, and security over the phones is getting more and more important. But most importantly, security can no longer be dealt with as a silo. Let me install this here, let me install this here. because the way the attack happens, it doesn't just click and happen. It normally an attack goes all the way from 1 week to 300 days until it works, until it starts acting. So you might be under attack as we speak now, but you wouldn't know for 6 months. Right?
In your work with Cyb3r, how many of your customers are customers that are gearing up to be ready for an attack, and how many have maybe had an attack and they've realised, oh, we didn't have enough security, and they then reach out to you?
You would be surprised about the amount of top prospect customers that we talk to that become customers because they call us 2 weeks later, say we've been breached.
Yeah.
Right. We were just in an incident a while back where there's something called business email compromise that happens these days. You receive an email as if from your colleague, from your direct manager. We were with a customer who lost $1.9 million because of an email like that. Right. And I've seen like 50 of these within the past 3 months alone. So it's no joke.
And is that one of the hardest challenges, I guess, for your business, is to convince people that they actually need it? Because most people will be like, it'll never happen to me. I'll be fine.
Yeah, that is the most difficult challenge. And thankfully, people are starting to understand that. But when it comes to understanding the criticality of how soon they can move, I mean, I wish everyone would stay safe. But it could happen just within a second, and it costs the world $225,000 per second for cyber attacks. So the question is, when is your second?
But then, how isn't the challenge then to educate people on a daily basis, not on like hey, let's try and talk about cybersecurity once in a year, kind of a convenient setup, maybe every single day, because like you mentioned that every single second we're losing dollars to cybersecurity crimes. Now, these cyber criminals are getting smarter by the day, and they're not working as individuals. And I can tell you how. Just a few days back, and I'm saying this because I got invited into a group of of people who invest in cryptocurrencies and all of that. And then suddenly there was this very well structured communication that comes out from one person saying that, hey, there is a method of DeFi mining. So where you put in $1,000 and then you get about 3% every day. 3% every day. Any financial institution giving you that kind of money is not happening, period, in whatever markets you're talking about. And that was like a big red flag for me. But on that group, there are still, and I'm still on that group just to keep an eye on what's happening. Curious me. 140 odd people on that group. People are putting in money, and I've seen people disappear off that group, I think because their money has been swindled off.
Yes.
How does one educate these people then?
So we're doing a very small part that we can do there. We're very active on social media to educate people, but it's the job of each and every business owner to educate his team to ensure that they're more secure.
Yeah.
It's the job of every father to educate his kids, right?
But you see, I have trouble telling my mum how to open the phone, and this is part of the problem.
It is, but you should much more importantly tell her not to click on a link that she gets on a message.
Yeah, because when I spoke to my father, he doesn't have like a Gmail or a Hotmail account. He has the email address that came with the internet service provider from like 20 years ago. Now, he then rings me and he goes, I can't believe all this spam I get. Because it doesn't have the filter of some of those accounts, everything gets sent to his inbox. So he was saying to me, why am I getting all these offers and these hacks? I said, because you've got the wrong email address. And it's not being filtered.
Back in the days, there was this Nigerian prince thing, right? And everyone got to know it because people started joking about it. People started spreading it. The only way to educate people is people have to talk about this thing as if QR codes, for example. We've seen recently unfortunately, a lot of restaurants here and in Europe where the restaurant places the QR code for the menu. Someone just walks in, swipes that QR code with another sticker on top of it, routes you to his website. You just scan it, he's inside, right? How would you know that? You need to talk to people. You need to tell them, guys, take care. Don't click on a link that comes from XYZ, which is a local entity. but the number is +91. It doesn't make sense. They don't relate, right?
Yeah,
So,
I've missed parcels being delivered because when the message came from the courier, I thought it was a scam. So and then they rang me and they said, "Oh, you didn't answer the message." And I said, "Oh, that was real?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was a scam."
so if they call you, they're good people.
Yeah.
Right?
And then in your job, how hard is it to keep up with these new challenges and these new scams that are
It's a
around?
nightmare. It's a nightmare. But our role is to carry that load instead of our customers. It's
Do you
as simple as that.
do you in some ways have to think like a criminal?
Yes, we actually have people in our team that are trained.
Former criminals? No,
I don't
I'm
want to
kidding.
say it this way, but yeah, they're trained to think like criminals.
Yeah,
They
because
have to think in the same manner, right?
yeah.
This is incredible. But then, when you talk about organizational protection of cybersecurity and stuff, it's not just a single pronged mechanism. It's not only through emails. It could happen through any possible way.
Yes.
Through one of the least important employees' phone messaging system, and it could corrupt the entire organization. How does that communication then go from you to the CEO that you're talking to, or the CTO that you're talking to, that hey, you need to probably check your office boy's phone?
So you can't.
Exactly.
You can't tell him check.
Exactly, yeah.
80% of the attacks happen because of a human, right? All that the technology does is it tries to prevent the mistakes that a human can fall into. It's as simple as that, right? So as long as we are still patching issues, we're still in the same problem. So when I talk to a CEO, if he doesn't see the business risk behind it, if he doesn't see that there is a legal liability if data is stolen from his premises, right? Now the UAE is very keen on this whole data protection thing, right?
Yeah.
So now people are trying to understand. The healthcare sector is very hot on medical data being stolen, right? There are a lot of things, but the CEOs in most of the cases, they don't even know that this is a problem.
It happened in Australia. Australia's second biggest mobile phone company had a data breach. 10 million attacks, 10 million user account, passport, number, everything. The Australian government made them pay for every single person to have a new driver's license and passport because they'd been compromised. That's how much it cost them.
It happens here a lot.
Yeah.
It happens worldwide, and it happens every day. Every single day there's something.
Well, it's a challenge. I think
It is.
you've got such a huge job, and I think we need more people like you because I want to get my parcels delivered. I don't want to think the message that comes through is fake.
One of the challenges, especially when it comes to SMEs, is that the news that come out about big companies being attacked. It's not because only big companies being attacked. It's because those are the guys that are worth some pages and some time and some articles, right? But it happens to each and every one. And you'd be surprised about the amount of businesses that go out of business because they're hit by ransomware.
Well, just to finish up, because we're almost out of time, it's a fascinating conversation. If you are a small business, an SME, what's your number one tip, your main piece of advice you can give someone today about?
Call me.
Call me. Well, you can go to the website, even better.
No.
It's cyber.ae, cyb3r.ae.
Thank you.
That's the place
I
to go.
think the only piece of advice is get to know what is important for you, get to know what could happen, and take it seriously because the cost of remediating an attack is a nightmare, by all means.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's great advice. You don't want to be on the wrong side where you've got to pay all that money to recoup the mistake.
Exactly.
That would have been easy if you had have taken Rami's advice in the first place. Rami Refaat is the Managing Director of Cyb3r, cyb3r.ae. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insights.